Where is Melania Trump? The U.S. First Lady hasn't been spotted in more than 3 weeks. The White House says she won't be joining her husband's retreat at the weekend. Well, Simon Marks, our U.S. correspondent, is here with more. Simon, of course, I've heard so many people ask this question. Even Michelle and I were discussing it earlier. Do we know where she is?
It is, well, we know she's in the White House. We think she's in the White House. But this is day 24, Shahan, of the game that everybody in Washington is playing, which is, where is Melania Trump? Here's what we know. She was last seen in public the night that those 3 American prisoners were freed by the North Koreans and flew back to Andrews Air Force Base, and she went there 2 o'clock in the morning with her husband to welcome them home. The next day, she went to a hospital for a treatment for some kind of a kidney ailment that had not previously been disclosed to the American public. She then stayed in the hospital for 4 or 5 days after the operation, longer than many doctors suggested would be normal for the kind of kidney procedure that she had undergone. Since then, she hasn't been seen in public, she hasn't been heard from. Bear in mind, all of this is happening just a matter of weeks after she launched what is supposed to be her big Be First initiative, where she's hoping to work with young people to, among other things, clean up social media. Some people say she could begin with her husband. Speaking of her husband, within the last few minutes, on Twitter, he has said, "This is my 500th day in office, and we have accomplished a lot. Many believe more than any president in his first 500 days. But no mention of his wife Melania in that tweet. We now know that she will not be joining him at the G7 summit that's coming up. She won't be going with him to Singapore next week for the planned summit meeting with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. We may get more information later in the day. She's on the White House schedule today for the first time in 24 days. This afternoon, she's due to attend a reception for Gold Star military families that is being held at the White House, although unusually for an event like that, it's closed to the press.
All right, so we'll be looking to see maybe when she gets in there, whether she's actually
if we get anything.
Yeah. So let's talk about Trump's legal woes. This has been ongoing now for months, and I mean, some would argue that he's one of the first U.S. presidents that has faced so many legal troubles in his first year or two as president.
Yeah, no question about that. I mean, Richard Nixon obviously faced deeper legal woes, but was ousted from the presidency in his second term. It was 1973 before he was forced from power. Look, the legal woes are deepening, and they deepened again this weekend. The president's lawyer, the former mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, you remember him from the attacks of September the 11th, 2001, went on television to effectively say that even if the president finds himself facing prosecution, he has the power to forgive himself. In other words, absolutely, you know, he is the state. He has the power to forgive himself of any possible crime. The notion of possible crimes and obstruction of justice, that notion is building in part because we learnt over the weekend that President Trump's lawyers now concede that he did dictate a statement that was issued regarding his son's meeting in Trump Tower with Russian emissaries. Up until now, they've always denied that Donald Trump had anything to do with that statement, in exactly the same way as up until recently they always denied that President Donald Trump knew anything about the $130,000 payment that was made to the adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Now they concede not only did President Trump know about it, but he reimbursed his personal lawyer for that payment. So week after week, they concede that things they said previously were inaccurate. Now Rudy Giuliani is trying to turn that to the president's advantage and saying this is exactly why he mustn't agree to a personal interview with the special prosecutor Robert Mueller, because, as he put it on television this weekend, our recollections of events just keep changing. That's taking him deeper and deeper and deeper into the potential legal mire.
And then this on-again, off-again, on-again, off-again summit. It is happening this time?
Well, we think so. It seems to be on again. Within the last few hours, the Singaporeans in their government gazette have published a map of the area around the Shangri-La Hotel in Singapore that is going to be restricted to members of the public for what we think will be this astonishing moment when an American president walks into the room with a North Korean leader, shakes him by the hand and sits down to talk. So it seems to be on. What's less clear is what exactly are they going to talk about. The Americans insisted they would only go ahead with this summit if the conversation was going to be about the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. The North Koreans say we're not talking about that. We've got no plans to get rid of our nuclear capability. So now they seem to be coalescing around the idea that they will perhaps discuss formally ending the Korean War, which is still officially on between North and South Korea, even though there's no direct combat between the two countries. And President Trump, with justifiable pride, is saying, wouldn't that be remarkable if we could end this 70-year conflict as a result of this conversation? Many back in Washington say that would indeed be a remarkable and very positive development, but they question whether President Trump is giving too much away simply by walking into the room. When an American president walks into the room with a leader of a brutally repressive regime like North Korea, he is conveying a sense of legitimacy on Kim Jong-un and the ruling family in North Korea that previous American presidents have not wanted to convey. Bill Clinton got close. He almost engaged in a summit meeting with Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's father, but it never happened. Is this going to happen this time around? And is the United States giving too much? Or is Donald Trump, as he would put it, doing what he needs to do in order to get a dialogue going? He's torn up the rule book of foreign policy in planning this summit. He's probably the only American president that could bring this off, but it is a very high-stakes poker game.
All right, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Simon Marks, our U.S. correspondent, explaining what's happening in the U.S.